and I'm hitting my button too. Recording. My hair's all goofy. We're like, hey, let's do a show at 8. And then you texted me, and I was sleeping. And then I woke up, and I said, I'll be down in 15 minutes because I need a little power nap. Now I got a power nap, and I'm ready to do a show.
I'm glad. I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you got that in.
Yeah. See, Richard, like, if I was in this state and Tiffany Camp said, hey, wake up. Psst, wake up. Hey, you wanna go to our sex room? We have a sex room now, Richard. It's not as hot as it sounds. Yeah. Well, basically what happens, Richard, is our son is sleeping in our bed.
Isn't it the bedroom? The bedroom's not that room?
Well, we got to go to a different bedroom. It's, if you ever stay at the house, it's the guest bedroom. That's our sex bed because our son sleeps in our bed.
Are the walls red? Did you paint the walls red?
Why do you paint the walls red?
So it could be the red room.
No,
see? I'm helping.
The problem with red, though, if you ever want to change it, it's going to take forever. Because that will show through. The kitchen in this house was like red at one point, and I think they've painted it like twice, and you still see like blotches of red peeking. Maybe the kitchen was their sex room.
Maybe.
Because we talked about this was a swingers house, so they had like the windows all open so everybody in the neighborhood could see. UPS man drives by and it's like, oh, orgy house. I'm here to deliver a package.
I think red doesn't seem like a terrible color. I like a house with a little color. You ever notice, like, you walk into houses. Okay, this bothers me anymore. Okay, let's say you go to like an open house, and I kind of understand the thinking in so much as like the thought is that you're supposed to walk into a house and it's supposed to feel like kind of a blank canvas, so that way you can kind of imagine what you would do to it. However, I think, like, all that does is say to me that these people that live here are the most drab, boring people on the face of the earth. Like, there's no color in their life.
Yeah, but you're not buying the people. You're buying the house. That's kind of like my first house.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that there were interesting people that lived in the house before me.
Well, and they could have had it painted cool before, but like in my old house, like the bedroom was painted like a deep purple. Like the living room was like orange or green.
See, I like that.
But
that would make me feel, that would be like, hey, like maybe these people have something to say.
Yeah. But when you walk in,
like, are you so creatively devoid that you can't picture another color on a fucking wall?
No, you can. But the problem is if like you see like a dark green or a dark purple, you're like, that's going to take like 2 to 3 coats of primer, and then I can put my color on it. And that's why I think a lot of places will paint like white or more like lighter colors, because when you come in, you're like, even if you're like, man, these people are boring, it's like, you know what? I could put like a dark red there, a dark green there. Only going to need 1 coat. Not going to have to like do a bunch of work to get it to go.
Yeah, but then you're going to leave, and then you got to do it, and then you got to fix it anyway. Because let's say, like the years go by, Shawn, and you're like, maybe I don't know if I want to be in this house forever. I guess I should sell it. And then you're going to get a realtor who I really don't understand what the point of them is. However, but the realtor's going to walk in, and the realtor's going to be like, you need to fix this fucking paint. You see this?
Oh, yeah.
What is this? What'd you paint this? Dark green? What are you, an idiot?
Yeah.
Nobody paints this dark green.
And
you moron.
When you're going to sell a house, you're trying to get to the masses. So like the one person that walks in is like, oh my gosh, this feels like Willy Wonka's Wonderland. I would like to buy this house. Compared to the people who are like, oh my God.
Tell me you wouldn't want to buy Willy Wonka's house.
That's true. But the people that walk in.
Come with me and you'll see.
Lots of dead Oompa Loompas. Wait, what?
Whoa. Why did he do that to us?
They're in the crawl space next to.
Come with me and your loan will be pre-approved and not in degradation. But
yeah, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, because the one person's like, yes, I want this, compared to like the people who walks. And it's funny too, like some people walk into homes and they see that and like, oh, I would have bought this home if it wasn't for that color. Like the most minimalistic stuff, people will do that. Like things that's like, well, you can fix that. Like,
that's ridiculous.
Some people don't want to put
like, yeah, like how, I don't know. Like how I feel I'm trying to think of a word that is graded higher than lazy. But like you walk in and you're like, oh, this room should be a different. I would want this room a different color. Like you can't be like, no, I'm not doing it.
Like
I'm
wall
go
colors.
through all the effort to fucking paint it. Oh God, no.
Yeah, wall colors I could get away with. Like that'd be like, like I don't like that color, but we can fix that. Carpet's another one that's a little bit. You're getting a little pricey there. Paint's pricey too, but like if you go downstairs and it's shag carpet, like let's pull that up and do something different. And a lot of times you can ask for that too. I mean, not really in this market, but in some markets you're like, hey, listen, we want like a carpet, investment or carpet. What do they call it? Basically, you can ask for money for new carpet from in that, and then they'll be like,
"Oh man, how cool would it be? You go down in a basement and there's shag carpet and like wood paneling on the walls. It's like a trip back to like 1981."
Yeah. Did you know they're coming out with the That 90 show? Did you hear about that?
You're gonna be like, I'm gonna smoke so much weed in this room, it's gonna blow your mind.
It's gonna smell like we have a pet skunk. Yeah, did you know they're coming out with That 90 show? Speaking of 80s and shag carpet, even though that took place in the 70s. And it's going to be all the irregular cast. Like it's them in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah. I'm curious how it's going to go. I think it's Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah, because aren't they all... Because at that point, they would be in their, like, 30s, right?
Yeah, because they graduated, like, right around the 80s. So they would... I think it takes place in 94. So they'd be, like, 34, 35 time frame. It'd be about like my age. So that'd be like, this is one of the first ones that takes place like in a time period that like I really remember. Like the mid 90s I remember like as a kid. So
you remember it as a kid.
Yeah.
I wonder how it was as an adult. Because you're right. Because I was a kid as well. 94, so I would have been 12.
It'll be interesting to see. So I don't know. Soon they'll do That 2000 show. And then I'll feel like
that's
crap.
when we'll feel old. That's when I'll feel old.
Yeah. When the grandpa's like, I graduated in 2004 from high school. We're like, oh, God. Time to put me in the home. All right. Let's talk about Destiny.
And I'll tell you what, if I go, totally painting the walls whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go together. We're going to have our own bro wing. We're like, what are those two doing talking into coffee cans? They think they're doing something called a podcast.
Bright yellow.
Not yellow. I'll go with red, not yellow.
What, like fire engine red?
Yeah. Oh, I love burnt orange. If you want to go halfsies on me on a burnt orange, poof, we can paint the whole room that. Or turtle green. My green wall in my old house was nice. I liked it.
See, you liked it. Was it green when you walked? Was it green when you showed up?
No, I painted it green.
You painted it green, and then the realtor, which again I don't understand. But the realtor walked in and was like, you need to fucking fix that, you idiot.
So this house
Did you paint this green?
Yep.
Why'd you do that?
It's like, all right.
What kind of a moron paints a fucking room this color?
Yeah, you're going to need to invest
you should kill
$20,000 to sell this home. Yep. She's like, here's a rope. It's like, make sure you face that green wall.
Face this wall.
Know your shame. Come with me, and you'll see.
I wish someone called suicide prevention. All right, we're gonna do a show. We're gonna have a chitty chat. Shawn, this one that we're gonna do right now has been in the making for like 4 years, and I'm very excited. There's been teases, there's been hints. But now it's time. I'm going balls deep on it. Ready?
Ready.
Let's do this. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. Shawn.
Richard.
You and I did a thing, and I am very happy about it, and I have no regrets, and I would do it again, and I feel like we're closer because of it, and I hope that I was gentle. I hope that I help guide you through it?
You did? When my wife found out and she saw how much time I was investing in this thing and the cost that was coming from it, she said she can't be with me anymore, and she left me. But the benefit of that is I have more time to invest in this thing.
Yeah, and I'm excited.
I mean, there's just stuff going all over the place. Stuff's happening, stuff's shooting.
That's true.
I'm getting relief every time. Oh, Richard.
Precision hits.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn, we're talking about Destiny.
We are. Yeah. Oh, wait, huh? Oof.
No.
Gay orgies.
That's
wait,
the
what?
Patrons only show.
Yeah. No, yeah, we're so I mean, you've been trying to get me to play this for a couple years.
Well, no, I would say that I didn't convince you. I let you convince yourself to buy a video game and play it with your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know I'm trying to remember when you told me about, like, you showed me some of it, and
I've shown you I think I've shown you trailers.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember at which one, like, I really kind of, like, understood what was going on in terms of, because I remember Nathan Fillion was a character in one of them, and I was like, oh, that seems kind of cool. And I think the part that scared me away the most originally was when you talked about it being like an MMO kind of thing. And like my only experience with that is I played a game called Mag on PlayStation 3, which was kind of cool. It's basically like what Call of Duty Online is now, but it was strictly all that. And I liked that, but I wasn't very good at it. And then there was WoW, which I played for about 2 months, and it was too grindy and just I didn't really like it. It felt very repetitive. And then there was GTA 5 Online, which I love Grand Theft Auto, and within 2 minutes of being in that world, I got capped right in front of the ammo store, and I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to play anymore. So whenever like I had some really bad preconceived like ideas of what like Destiny would even be.
Right.
And so you had told me about it, and like it sounded cool, and you had mentioned like this would have been 2021, and like they had a free to play since like 20 maybe, or maybe it was 21, but they were going to be cross play in August of 21.
To preface, I have been playing this game in particular since 2016.
Did you play Destiny, or did you start with Destiny 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I started. So I did not play. So Destiny's been around since 2014. They had a minor expansion, but then there was a big expansion that came out called The Taken King, and that's the point that I started playing. Was just shortly after Taken King. So D1 since Taken King. Taken King had been at that point, I would say up until now, Taken King was probably heralded as one of is probably the best expansion in the franchise. Destiny 2 came out in 2016, I want to say.
Yeah, and I know it was all strictly you played on your, it was PC. I don't know if it was cross with Xbox or not.
Destiny originally I played on my PlayStation 4. It wasn't available on PC.
Yeah. I don't know if I realized that. So it was only available.
the original Destiny was consoles only.
Oh, so it was Xbox and PlayStation, but just not PC.
It was when Blizzard Activision bought Bungie, and then that's when Blizzard decided to release it on PC as well as consoles, because it's Blizzard, they have BattleNet, and so it was on BattleNet. So once Destiny 2 came out, then I switched to PC.
So how did you find out about it? Was it just something that like, because I know kind of going to my gaming history, it was like 2016 is when my son was born. And so really I kind of like died down on time playing. And it really wasn't until like 2018, 19, I really got back into playing. And then like 2020 with us, everybody being stuck at home, I really played a lot more.
I think I remember it was just super. I was looking for something, and I think it was like Destiny plus the expansion. I think at the time was like it was super cheap for some reason. It was bundled together and super cheap, and so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll give this a shot." And so then started playing about. And about 2 hours in, there was a mission that you had to do. I guess I should, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack. People that don't know what Destiny is.
Oh yeah, I guess we should explain what it is.
It is a massively multiplayer online. Actually, I wouldn't even say massively multiplayer because you can 100% do 90% of what's going on by yourself if you want. It is an online looter shooter. So to describe the gameplay loop, you shoot things and they drop loot. You pick up the loot and then that lets you shoot things better. And
or not get shot as good.
Or not get shot as much or as hard. And then you shoot more things and they drop more loot and then the cycle repeats.
And like I will add, like if you were to sell me that way, I'd be like, oh my God, this has got to be the most repetitive game in the world. And to an extent, like, yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing. But in the time I've been playing, like I'm not a like 3-hour gamer. Like I play sports games usually, so it's like an hour and I'm done. And sports games are extremely repetitive most of the time. But this one, like everything feels very like each scenario, they throw in all kinds of, so, you know, like to kind of really tie like what has sold me the most on this is it feels like I'm playing our tabletop games on a console. Like it gives me that feel.
I could see that. I think a lot of it has to do with lore. So to explain a lot of the history of Destiny, the reason it was heralded as such a big deal way back in 2014 was because Bungie dumped a crap ton of money into developing this game. Like it was like when it released and even before it released, it was kind of it was going to be a thing. And the reason is because this is kind of the first big thing that Bungie had done since they since they stopped doing Halo. So Bungie had done Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then they weren't in charge of making them anymore. Now it's 343 is the studio that does the Halo franchise. But Bungie had made Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then they shifted all the resources to work on this big project called Destiny, which was supposed to have this insane, crazy story, very, very deep story, which it did. However, I feel like a big problem is that a lot of the story, especially in D1, kind of got lost in the shuffle because weapons and armor, most of the weapons and some of the armor all had its own individual lore.
Oh wow!
But it was all on these things called grimoire cards, which collected separately, and you could view on Bungie's website. So if you wanted to get into the lore of D1, you had to go somewhere else, and nobody ever did. They're just like, "Oh, I got this gun, okay."
Yeah,
but there was a lot of lore was dropped in these grimoire cards that you got from killing bosses or collecting weapons or collecting armor. A whole big story. So I'm going to try my best to give you the cliff notes on what the story is.
Well, and like you should sell too. So like if you listen to this and it's interesting, there's like a 3-hour YouTube video by, I think his name's Call Me Bry.
No, my name is Bife.
My name is
BYF.
Yeah. Oh, I read it as Biff. My name is Biff.
No, it's Bife.
But he goes through like the history of that up to Beyond Light, I think, and he's got other videos.
It's only up to Shadowkeep. His 3-hour lore video.
Okay,
only
but he's
goes
got
up
other
to Shadowkeep.
Yeah.
So up until 2018.
Okay, and I know he's got other videos that kind of keep going forward, but just to show you like how much, and I watched all of that one and some of the others before I got into the Witch Queen. So I kind of like got like a quick like, all right, I got to cram for the exam coming up in 2 weeks because I just figured out this is the thing I want to do in my life.
Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna try and cliff notes the story as best I can. I would say probably like present day is probably the best way I could put it. Present day, there is a discovery of an object on Mars. So the US, Russia, and China send 3 astronauts to figure out what the fuck this object is. And what this object is a big, giant, round ball. I'm not going to say moon-sized. I'm going to say probably...
I think they said it was like city-sized.
Yeah, it's about so a big, giant, round ball about the size of a large city. And it was called the Traveler. And so what the Traveler did was help bestow technology and inspiration to the human race. And so lifespan tripled, advances were made in technology and science and medicine and all sorts of stuff. It heralded a new golden age for humanity.
Yeah, started like expanding to all like Venus, Mars, Mercury.
Yes, we started to colonize. We actually managed to terraform and colonize other planets in the solar system. Mercury became a garden world. Venus became like a jungle. I think Mars is still a desert. However, we did grow crops and stuff like that on Mars. So, like, humanity basically like advances exceptionally rapidly. Okay. However,
the big ball called the Traveler, like it doesn't like talk to people or anything, right? Like this is all like a subconscious thing that happened.
Correct. Think of it like the monolith in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it's a completely not inanimate object, but it's an object that just sits there, and you're not exactly sure what it does, but it's something crazy. So the problem is that the Traveler was being pursued by an enemy, which we only know as the Darkness. And so the Darkness actually came to our solar system, and there was a big battle, and it kind of ended in a bit of a stalemate. The Darkness left. However, the Traveler was very, very weakened and went to one place on Earth where made its last stand. And the Darkness, like I said, there was a battle, stalemate happened, Darkness left. However, the Traveler was severely weakened. It was considered the collapse of this golden age. So all that technology was completely lost.
No.
There's one thing that the Traveler did before it went into what we can only assume is some sort of hibernation. Was it birthed something called the Ghost. And so a ghost is a little tiny robot, but it's like a sentient robot that is able to resurrect people, brings them back from the dead.
Yeah, and it wasn't until, I don't remember exactly what you said to me. I think it was when I was doing the Forsaken where one of the main characters gets killed, and like you said, well, the only way to kill them is if their ghost is gone, if you destroy their ghost. And that actually made this game cooler for me, because like when you think about like Call of Duties or things like that, you just kind of like you respawn, right? You just come back.
Right.
And there's not really any rhyme or reason for it. But when you said it's like, oh, well, the ghost is what does that. It brings you back. And they explained it in the initial walkthrough. Like, but I didn't quite understand that because like it's a brand new video game, brand new world where you just jump in. You're like, oh, okay, like it says it brought me back. All right, whatever. Kill stuff. Go. But,
sure.
Like when you explain that to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that brings some kind of like realism to it. Like there's actual kind of like logic to it. You know, it's
Right.
Like, you know, it's the whole like Marvel thing. It's like, well, Thor doesn't really fly. He just swings the hammer and throws it, and it's so powerful it drags him around. It's like, oh, okay, there's some science to it, even though it's not real science, but there's, you know, logic to it, and that makes me invested more.
Yeah. It's sci-fi science. It's fine.
Yeah.
So the ghosts wandered around the whole world, wandered around the solar system, and found people and raised their bodies. And then those people became guardians, the guardians of humanity. So that's what you are in the game. You're a guardian. A ghost shows up, finds your body, raises you, and says, "Hey, I found you, and you are now a guardian of humanity, and so your job is to protect the citizens of the last city." And the last city is built directly underneath where the traveler is on Earth.
And I like that too because it kind of gives you like this connection with your ghost. Like the ghost went out to choose you. It's almost like I think they, in the movie or the big YouTube video, he kind of talked about how it was like not really like a like soulmate per se, but there's definitely some like really strong ties to why they find specific like people or other races to bring back.
Yeah, it seems like ghosts are very choosy about who they pick to be their guardian. And it's not exactly clear why they choose who they choose, but they do.
Yeah, and so mine just took a little longer
Shawn,
to find me, Richard.
Originally, the voice of the ghost in D1, in Destiny 1, the original voice of the ghost was Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, and didn't they have a nickname for him? Wasn't it like Dinklebot?
Dinklebot.
Yeah, I read that somewhere and thought that was pretty funny.
Good old Dinklebot.
When it comes to ghosts, I know like there's famous ones in the game that have names. I kind of wish there was a way to name yours somehow. Like I think that'd be kind of cool.
My favorite, there was a ghost named Pulled Pork.
Oh, that's a good one.
But then everybody thought his name was Pulled Pork. But then later on in the lore, it turns out his name is Glint.
Oh. Which
I was like, well, that's Pulled Pork.
Yeah, Pulled Pork's
That's
better.
not Glint. His name's Pulled Pork.
That's a good, like.
That's Crow's ghost. Crow's ghost is Pulled Pork.
Oh.
I will always call him Pulled Pork.
Like, I asked you what your ghost name was. You said you didn't have one for it. But I think it'd be kind of cool. Like, yeah, like pick out like a food, like, you know, like T-bone or sirloin. Like, that'd be kind of cool. Honey mustard. 'Cause that's the other thing I love about the game. Like you could call him macaroni, and then he'd call you cheese, and together you'd be mac and cheese.
Yeah,
I like it. But I like too, like, where was I going with that? I don't remember. I lost it. I hadn't lost it. Oh, like the guns and stuff have like clever names. Like there's like lots of Firefly references and stuff like that. So I feel like they walk a really good line of being like kind of like, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like giggle stuff, like Pulled Pork and stuff like that, where it's just kind of it's silly and funny, but it still keeps kind of this, you know, like, you know, you're invested in this battle for like light and dark kind of thing. And I think they just do a great job of like combining all that stuff.
So, beginning of the game, you get resurrected. You're being chased by a group called the Fallen. And the Fallen is a race from another solar system that came to Earth to be near the Traveler, because the Traveler used to be on their planet. And the Traveler left.
Yeah.
Because
little
the
single white
was
female
coming,
action.
The darkness was coming, and so the Traveler fucked off and came to Earth, or came to Sol, our solar system, and the Elixni, which are the Fallen. The Elixni's like their name. We say the Fallen, but the races call themselves Elixni. But the Elixni followed the Traveler here. And so they're like, hey, how come these guys get fucking cool light powers. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when your ex-girlfriend breaks up with you and you go back to her and like her new boyfriend's like, hey, guess what? She does butt stuff. Like, what? What?
yeah,
What? What
I
about?
want butt stuff.
Yeah.
And then you want to beat him up because he got butt stuff and you didn't.
Yeah. But then he beats you up and then he's like, I want to do butt stuff to you. You're like, no.
Yeah.
High school is weird,
But
Richard.
you beat him up and then he gets resurrected and you're like, wait, what? This isn't.
That's why, Richard. That's the story of my first girlfriend and her first boyfriend. That's what made me nervous about this game because like that's the first thing I had, so I was worried I was gonna have flashbacks.
Okay, so the enemies of humanity they've all come to like deal with to basically wipe us out. You have the fallen, which want to get rid of us because we have the traveler and they don't, and they're kind of salty about it. Which I kind of get, you know, like you're someplace with a cool friend and then the cool friend leaves and then you follow the cool friend and you find out they're with some other friends and they're having an even better time. And you're like, what the fuck?
Well, and even not that, like it's like, you know, like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, our backyard's flooded. Let's wait, where'd dad go?
Yeah.
Mom's like, I think he went to get some cigarettes. Oh, we're never going to see him again. And then you see him years later putting sandbags around some other family's house.
So that's the
this
fall.
game exposes a lot of like trauma for me, Richard. I'm feeling very triggered.
The next race we have is the Cabal. And so what the Cabal are is, I guess the best way to put it is like space rhinos.
I always think they look like in the game far away, they look like hamsters.
Kind of, a little bit.
Because you said when we were fighting, you're like, hey, you got to kill a bunch of those space
small
rhinos.
Heads.
Yeah, and I'm like, but these look like hamsters. I'm like, whatever, I'll shoot them.
The Cabal Empire is a group that have come, I guess for probably lack of a better word, to try and like harness the power of the Traveler. Like they feel the Traveler is something to be conquered. So they have a much more Roman legionnaire kind of vibe.
Yeah, I gotcha.
To them. Like I think their soldiers are actually called legionnaires. They have praetors and, you know, all that. Very, very ancient Rome. Okay. So that's the Cabal Empire. Then you have the Vex. The Vex are sentient robots that have come from what we can only assume is another time, an alternate time, an alternate dimension, alternate timeline that they've managed to come into our timeline. There's a reason why, which is we could go another 45 minutes on the reason they showed up. But the Vex, their thing is they create they're big on simulations and working out every single possibility of how everything could happen in order to ensure their own victory. And they do that by running simulations in all sorts of different timelines and scenarios. They're time traveling robots that are bad. That's them in a nutshell. So that's kind of basic. Oh, and then the last one is the Hive. The Hive come from another distant world called Fundament, and they seem to be very kind of like buddy with the darkness. Out of all the races, the Hive are much more closely associated with the darkness. There are 3 leaders of the Hive. There is Oryx, who was the Taken King, which we killed him in Destiny 1. Zivor Wrath, which is the Hive god of blood or carnage and war. And then the last one, which is where we are now, is Savathun, who is the Hive goddess of cunning and lies.
And that's the Witch Queen, right? That's what this one's.
That is the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
The Witch Queen Savathun.
Which I'm halfway, you said, or about maybe 2/3 the way through the campaign?
You're just over halfway is where you're at, which is where the story takes a very dramatic turn. And so I'm not spoiling it for you.
Yeah, I've avoided everything. I know, like, I was hoping to get that done in like the first week, and I've got busy this last week where I couldn't really jump on. And you finished it in like what, 2 days?
Yes, it took me like 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. Campaign was 8 to 10 hours on what they call legendary difficulty, so everything hits a lot harder. More enemies,
more loot.
That last battle was pretty rough. Not gonna lie, but double rewards for every encounter, which felt good.
Yeah,
I made the whole campaign feel worth it. I would say that not only did going legendary on the campaign, it not only made it feel worth it, but it also made the campaign feel more. It made the story kind of almost more impactful.
I could see it
because this shit's hard.
Yeah. Well, and I know I tried Legendary for just a little bit, and so I haven't really touched on it too much because, again, I've only been playing this game for like 2 weeks.
Sure.
But even like jumping down, if you're a novice into like the regular mode, it's not super simple. Like, I'm not just walking through these destroying everything willy-nilly. Like, it still takes some effort.
Yeah. So Destiny 2 came out in 2016. There have been 2, 3, 5, 6 major expansions since its release.
I think
so there was the original D2, the vanilla game. I think like 6 months later, they released Curse of Osiris, which introduced a character called Osiris, who was an old guardian from like way back in the heyday. There was another one called Warmind, which took place on Mars. Those expansions were not good. Like they were super small and there wasn't really much going on there. The next major expansion was Forsaken, and Forsaken was very good. Decent story, added a whole mess of content, 2 whole new zones, like a big, massive update.
Yeah, I guess this is a good spot to talk about their structure too, because that's when they introduced. I just pulled up because I know their wiki has a really good kind of Destiny 2 release kind of timeline.
Oh,
and
okay.
When Forsaken came out, that's when they started the seasons, right?
Yes. So Forsaken's when they started coming out with the seasonal model, and what that was basically, here's this big expansion, and then every 3 months we're going to be doing kind of like a mini. We're going to release a bunch of little stuff, to help kind of tide you over until the next season, and then at the end of 3 seasons, boom, you get a new expansion. Feels good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like that model. I've kind of talked to some people and like I've explained, like, if you have really bad FOMO, this is probably not a game for you, which I think most of these like online type games probably aren't for you anyway.
I would say that it was even, I'm going to tell you, it was the whole FOMO thing was even worse like year before last.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like that was kind of a goal, is they wanted to create FOMO. Like that was almost kind of like an objective they had on a PowerPoint.
Which, like, if you're a very I kind of am to an extent, and I'm sure as I get more invested in this, I'll feel more of that. But like having a game where it's like, man, I got to get on every night, or I got to get on at least twice a week, that's not healthy. And I think there's been a couple people that talked about that. It's like, that's not healthy. Like, you don't need to feel like you got to spend 4 hours a night on a video game. Not just because you're like, oh, this is fun, but just like, I gotta do this or else.
Yeah.
But what I like about that too, because like the other thing that concerned me a little bit, like, again, my only kind of like leveling up experience with like online gaming was WoW. And I think now they've kind of switched it where you get to start at a higher level. But in terms of those games, like, it's like, oh my God, now you're level 37. It feels a little different than how Destiny does it, because like with this new expansion, everybody starts at the same light level. And like you explained it, like, well, yeah, we'll be at the same light level. I'll have more tools than you in the toolbox, but for the most part, we're kind of on a level playing field. Which
Right. I mean, I have 4 years worth of guns sitting in my vault, guns and armor sitting in my vault. So I mean, there's stuff I can pull, but in terms of just flatline, hey, this is how powerful my character is versus how powerful your character is, it's the same. I just have more variety in terms of guns and armor that I can use.
And I kind of like that because, like, if you're a new person coming on, like, I don't feel like, oh my god, all right, well, for me and you to play, I got to go through the Forsaken campaign, then I got to do Shadowkeep, then I got to do Beyond Light. It's going to take me like 6 months just to get where you are, and then I'm still behind.
That's kind of something that got fixed with Shadowkeep. Was they were saying, hey, we're going to come out with this free-to-play model where somebody can jump on and they can play through the intro mission, which the intro mission actually, Shawn, that you played through is the original first mission from Destiny 1.
Oh, okay.
So they retooled the first mission from Destiny 1, updated it, made it more Destiny 2 friendly. And so you go through that mission, and as soon as that mission, but when that mission's over, boom, you are in the world. You can play whatever, you can do whatever. The only thing that's holding you back is content that you have or have not bought.
Yeah, and in terms of like their model, so I did the free to play for a little bit. Like I think you said, you're like, hey, try it out, see if you like it.
Right. Because that's what I was like. I don't because like I'm committed. Like I'm throwing down. They're like, hey, here's this deluxe edition, so you can have all the seasons and the expansion. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm getting that. Like, how much is that? All right, I guess that's what I'm doing.
But like you think about it,
I'm in.
It's not bad though. Like it's $70.
For something that's new, I was like, I didn't want to scare you, so I was like, you know what? I was like, play the free version, give it a little bit. I was like, if you play the free version for like a week and you're like, okay, I think about this, but I think I said like give it 2 weeks before you drop $70.
Yeah, I think I waited a week and I was like, I'm gonna get this. Like I think I want this.
Well, the expansion just Destiny 2 the Witch Queen, which is all anybody needs. If you get Destiny 2 the Witch Queen, then that will purchase you the expansion and this season's story, I believe.
I don't know so there's like 3 versions out there. There's and that's why I think price wise it's not bad because it's $40 for just the Witch Queen
for the base. The
deluxe is like $70, so it's the game plus like $10 per season, which is about typical. Then there's like a higher one where you get like the 30th anniversary stuff.
Yeah, because Bungie just recently had their 30th anniversary, and so they put out a whole batch of armor and weapons, and actually most of the 30th anniversary stuff's free. The only paid content for the 30th anniversary pack is you get some extra cosmetics. I think a couple extra pieces of gear, and you get access to a 3-person dungeon.
And I think some of the stuff with the what's the Zur thing?
Dares of Eternity.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there you need it for, because that's why I ended up buying it.
Oh, okay. I knew Dares of Eternity, which is it's a six-person activity. Dares of Eternity was free for everybody to do. I just didn't know what's behind the paywall and what isn't.
Yeah, it's free to get in there, and then once you get into like his treasure room, like there's a bunch of loot boxes, and like you have to have that to get into those.
Oh, okay.
But what I like about Destiny, it does that's what, like, to me when I was first playing, it's like, well, because again, going to the only system I know a while, like you have to buy all these different things to get up to where people are at. And so it's like, well, you need this game, then you need to get this game. They usually sell them in bundles. But what's cool about Destiny is, like you said, you can do the free one, And then as you're going around, if you're like, oh, I'm doing this mission, this cool. And then when you get to the next spot, it says, hey, to continue, you need to get, Beyond Light, or you need to get the 30th anniversary pack. So it really kind of like guides you into what you need to get to keep going with something. So if you get to a spot and you're like, well, I don't really like it enough to spend $30 on the Beyond Light expansion or $20. So I'm going to go find something else to do.
Okay. See, I guess like one of the reasons that I actually wanted to sit and like do a show about it is because like this is something that I've been like I said, I've been playing it for fucking years. You haven't. And so I guess I'm more curious about what your experience has been over mine. I mean, I have my own I have problems with the game, but the things that I like definitely outweigh the things that I don't like.
Well, everything I like about it, like when I started up, it's pretty simple. Like you pick your race, but like you said, with your race and your class, it doesn't really matter what you pick. Like the class a little bit, depending on like, here's something that's a little bit more kind of, assassin. Here's something that's a little bit more run and gun. And this one's kind of like your go up and beat stuff. But, none really has
you
like
can
a
play
big
all
pro
three.
con.
I mean,
exactly.
I have one. There's 3 classes. I have one character of each. I have a hunter. I have a titan. I have a warlock.
Yeah, you get 3 buckets.
My main character is hunter. I'm main hunter.
And what I like about that too is like as you gain weapons, you can use it across all 3. So you don't have to like redo something to get a weapon if you find it. Armor is the only one that's different because armor is class specific, which you explained to me too.
Right.
But so like going into that was super simple to pick. You told me to do a warlock, and I really enjoyed that because that's kind of like almost like they considered it kind of like the Jedi when in some of the explanations I've seen of
wizard.
it. Yeah, so you're throwing these fireballs, you got grenades, and you're shooting stuff. It's really cool. And so like you get into that, and that's pretty easy. And then like all the free stuff, like you feel like you're just playing the game. And like I was saying earlier, like when you come to stuff where it's like, well, you need this expansion, you're like, oh, okay, so let's show you right there to buy it. And so it's kind of like a good model because it's really easy to be like, it's like, oh, you need Beyond Light, and you click it, and it's like, well, it's only $20. And like it's just a click to say, oh, yep, I'll get it.
When you say good model, do you mean good in the sense that like, oh, this is very easy to navigate and easy to use? Or do you mean good as like they know what they're fucking doing?
Both. Very much
both.
both.
I can only applaud them for it.
Yeah, it is very much both because it is easy because it pops up and it shows you all that's there. And like if it's something that has like multiple like the Beyond Light right now is like you can just buy Beyond Light or you can get Beyond Light plus the season. It does a really great job of popping that up and being like, oh, wow, like for another $5, I can get the current season. Well, I'll do that. But it doesn't feel like it's nickel and diming you either. Like there's no like pay to win, like, with like the deluxe editions that you got. All the extra stuff is very cosmetic. And really the only thing you can spend money on is cosmetic stuff, like making your character look cooler or like different types of ornaments that you put on armor. I will
say that there have been some exotic weapons that have been put behind the paywall. For example, there is a rocket launcher called the Galahorn, which you can only get if you go through the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. And the only way you can get through the dungeon is if you buy the 30th anniversary pack. So if you buy the Bungie 30th anniversary pack, you get access to the dungeon. And if you go through the dungeon, you will get this rocket launcher.
Yeah, and even to me, like I wouldn't consider that like that's just the content that's theirs. Like there's a bunch of exotics that are that way. But it's not like, and I mean, I guess you could say is like, well, if you spend this money that you can do this dungeon and you get it. But
there is no model where it says, hey, if you pay X amount of money, we will give you this gun.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't exist.
Like I can't just spend $10 and have that bazooka or that rocket launcher.
Correct.
Let's see. So like you had told me it was free to play and that they were doing crossplay like in August of November 21. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I added it to
I think that's when I was pushing really hard because I was like, hey, crossplay's coming. So that means that you could be on your PlayStation and I can be on my PC and then we can play together.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little intimidated by that because it's a situation like when you jump in with somebody and you're like, oh my god, like you're gonna be so much better than me. Like, am I just gonna annoy them? Because again, my experience with online games has not been fun. Like whenever you do like WoW and stuff like that, you do raids with people you don't know, and some people are just jerks about it.
Some people can be. I mean, I feel like that. I mean, it's the internet, you know.
And it's kind of like when like if I mean, always going back to like sex stuff, but like if you have like it's like, oh my god, this is my best friend in high school. Like her and I are best friends, and it's like, well, maybe we should sleep together, and you just completely ruin it. Like I was worried we'd play video games that would ruin our friendship. Like, Shawn, you're terrible at this.
I have to go. We're podcasting tomorrow, right?
I have to go. Hey, are we going to do a raid tonight? Wait, where'd you go? But so, like, I think I put it in my cart and bought it, the free version. So I had it not downloaded, but then I moved and everything. And really what kind of spawned me to be like, well, maybe I should check this out was you'd sent me the trailer for Witch Queen, and that looked pretty cool. And then, not that it did sway me, but I think I would have got to it at some point just from Witch Queen. But with Sony buying Bungie, it kind of made it more like, oh, maybe I should check this thing out.
Yeah. I figured when you told me that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because I don't know if anybody knows this, but Shawn is very, 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 very much the Sony fanboy.
Yeah, and I'm
not saying it's a bad thing, not saying it's a great thing, just saying that is fact.
And I've got like a very loyal brand whore kind of like mentality. So like PlayStations have never let me down. Like it's done what I want for years. So like obviously I'm going to go back to that. It's just like my iPhone. Had that for years, works for me.
So quick history on Bungie. So they were a company. They put out Halo. They were bought by Blizzard Activision, or Activision Blizzard, whichever you want to say it. At one point, they actually bought themselves out of the Activision Blizzard umbrella, which is kind of super impressive, because that doesn't have, like, you always hear stories about like, oh, this company got bought out by blah, blah, blah. You never really hear a story of, hey, this company got bought out and then later like bought themselves out of it. Like they bought their own, and like they managed to get their independence back. So they got themselves out from under Activision Blizzard, and then just within the last 3 months, like 4 or 5 months, they announced that they accepted a deal from Sony. And so now they are under Sony's umbrella.
And it sounds like it's a good gig for them because they're still going to be an independent publisher.
That's I mean, I think that was kind of probably kind of a deal breaker for them, because that, like, as soon as the announcement was made, they said, we are 100% committed to releasing anything we put out on everything. Like we still want to make games for everybody, not just PlayStation, because we're owned by PlayStation.
Yeah, and then like
the
right
other
now's
thing
environment
is that Sony is, obviously Sony is not just PlayStation. Sony is a big multimedia company, and Bungie has been hinting around very hard that they're kind of looking into expanding the Destiny universe into other forms of media.
Yeah, and that'd be the one
so
to go
maybe
to.
Maybe we'll see a Destiny movie. Maybe we'll see a Destiny show. Who knows?
Yep, movie, TV show.
Fingers crossed.
Tons of options. Yeah, and so like when that announcement came up, it wasn't that was like, oh well, now I'll play it because it's a Sony product. It just put it back in my forefront because it's like, oh, I just saw the Witch Queen trailer like a week ago, and was like, oh, this is interesting. And now this is like, okay, like there's enough things kind of like popping up in a short period of time that I need to check this out. And I don't know if I told you about this. So like baseball is about to come out, and I bought the last 2 releases of the MLB The Show game. And like I was kind of pondering, it's like, okay, Witch Queen comes out, and then 2 months baseball comes out. And I told you, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm getting baseball. I think I'm going to stick and play Destiny.
That made my heart sing. I want you to know that.
But and I
I was just okay. So I feel like I'm diving down into like the little minutia of the game. So I guess I want to explain, or I want like you can explain to me like why. Because I think what you just said kind of segues into it. What makes you want to play this game so bad? Like, why is it fun for you? And why would you encourage someone else to do it?
Well, it doesn't feel repetitive. That's a big thing for games like this with me. You can branch out to different, like total different, like loot drops. So like when you get different things, you can be like, oh, I want to try this. Oh, I want to try this. And then when you find your thing, because it, I said earlier, it feels like I'm playing a tabletop, but on my console. And the fun thing with like your tabletop is when you level up, you're like, oh my God, now I can buy a new weapon. Now I can do this. I can do that. The character design on this is a lot simpler too. So I don't feel like you've got like, you can add mods and things like that, like you've been talking about. I think in this version they just released, there's a little bit more character development in terms of what you can do with your character, but it's not super complicated.
Yes. Well, there's more development you can do with your character in terms of customization of certain abilities. So there were originally 3 subclasses that you would pick. So you got your hunters, your warlocks, and your titans, and then under that there were 3 elements. There was arc, solar, and void. So you would switch between those 3 elements under your class, and depending on what element you were using would change what your certain abilities were. So there's void warlock, there's arc hunters, there's arc warlock, there's solar warlocks. So you'll switch between the 3 subclasses because they all have different powers.
But it doesn't take like a whole, like it doesn't take like a deep encyclopedia knowledge to be like, oh, I have to do this or I can't defeat this thing. And like I said, it feels kind of tabletop-y as you can kind of do tweaks here, tweaks there. And like, obviously there's people who have like, you've talked about some of your characters are like almost seem near invincible. But, like I don't feel like I don't have to spend hours outside of playing to build something to finish like the campaign per se.
PvP, I had such a good hunter build.
Yeah, but like the PvP and stuff like that, you probably need to get into that. But I'm not a big PvP person anyway.
You know what? I'm not either. So PvP, like there's a thing usually that says, hey, if you play 3 PvP matches, we'll give you this powerful reward. And so usually what happens is I'll do 3 to 6 PvP matches just to kind of like, claim some bounties, get my reward, and then I get out.
Yeah.
I don't mean to shit on PvP so much. It's just that it's not my bag.
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of player.
Yeah, I feel like to be like a master at PvP, that's like got to be your life. Like that's got to be the only thing you do.
We'll see. It's not even that. Like I'm horrible. I'm terrible at PvP. My son plays. He's way better at PvP than I am.
Oh yeah.
But even he like doesn't play it. He's like he usually does the same thing I do. He does his matches, he gets his bounties, and then he gets out.
Yeah,
and
I think I've done.
And honestly, it has nothing to do with it being like super toxic. It's just if you're not super fantastic at it, like it's not super fun, and so then you just don't do it.
Yeah. My first experience, I did my first PvP. Saw somebody run by and I shot him and killed him. I'm like, well, maybe I won't be so bad at this. Didn't kill anybody else the rest of the match, and I died like 46
sniped
times
from across the map.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just really fun. Like I said, it doesn't feel repetitive. There's lots of different kind of puzzles and stuff like that are fun to figure out. And the other thing that's fun too is like you said, we get to play together. And you've like, we've never really played games together, so I didn't really know what to expect when we played. But you've done like an amazing job, like walking me through it, and it's just fun to do it together. Yeah, so, like I kind of jump on, and when I see you're on, or the Discord, alert pops on that you're on, it's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna go shoot some stuff.
Yeah, video games with buds. Who doesn't like video games with buds?
And plus, since I moved where I'm at, I don't have the best internet in the world. It's a hard connection, but it's not like super fast. But having that work just makes it feel better. Because I would imagine like right now, if I was sitting here, like let's say I started this back at the old house where I had fiber, and I feel like I do right now, and I get here and it's like, like, all right, Richard, here it goes.
Well, the other thing, Shawn, is okay, think about this too, is you're playing on a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so there is that.
You're actually also experiencing the game at 60 frames per second. If you had your PS4, you'd be capped at 30.
Yeah.
So your frame rate not only would you have a slow internet connection, but your frame rate, just because of the hardware, your frame rate would be half.
That's true. Yep.
So you'd be like, why do I feel like I'm in molasses?
But yeah, I haven't got to play the last 2 nights because was just exhausted the one night, and then I had tickets already bought for Batman. But yeah, weekend of playing. Hopefully I can beat this campaign this weekend and on to bigger, better things.
Very much so. So what was the point of this entire conversation? The point is, to wrap this up, 2 things. 1, video games with buds is always better. It just is. Like, sit down with your friend and play a video game, and then you'll be like, "Oh, this is better. This is way better."
Yeah, in a team.
And I don't mean like play. I don't mean like in the sense of like you're sitting on the couch and they're sitting next to you on the couch. Like, hey, you should go see what's over there. Like, that's one thing. But like the 2 of you, like you and your friend actually like doing something together, or you and 6 friends, get you and 6 friends together and go on a raid. Oh
yeah. Everybody's on Discord.
Everybody's on Discord. Everybody's having a giggle fest.
Yeah. It's like your SEAL Team 6, but without all the violence.
I'll tell you what, when I first started playing the game, I got 2 hours in and did this mission, and it looked really good, and there was this, and the music was crazy, and I'm running around and doing all this shit, and I'm like, okay. I was like, I get why this game okay, I'm kind of in. But the first time I ever did a raid with a group, and this wasn't even a group of like friends. This was a group of people I met on Reddit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's tons of that.
So the very first raid I ever did was with a group of people I met on Reddit, and they were just, somebody looking for an extra person, and I was like, I'll give it a shot, And so I joined up with these guys, and we ran through the raid, and it was so much fun, and we were jumping around, and we were fucking making jokes. And somebody was like, hey, stand here really quick. And then something happens and you get fucking yeeted into space and died. And everybody laughed. And it was so much fun. So after I got done the very, very first time doing a raid, I was like, oh, okay, I have to play this game forever now. Funny story. One of the people that I originally raided with, I still talk to and raid with to this day.
Nice.
If he's on. He hasn't played a lot of Destiny recently, but I would say I've played with him within the last 2 months.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a good community. Like, I haven't felt like I've run into anything that makes me like, I don't want to play this anymore.
I have only ever had one bad experience during a raid, where like somebody was like super shitty specifically to me.
Yeah.
That's only happened to me once out of like, whatever, like 5 years.
So when the rest of the group was like, that dude was out of line.
Yeah. And it was, that's the thing, is it was like one passing moment. It's fine. So the two things I was going to say is, one, video games with buds, even if they're buds you don't really know, video games with buds is always better. And number two, everybody should join our Discord and play. That's
true. We pop on there, get in that voice, and you can listen to us giggle and laugh as we shoot things. Or as Richard makes me go to a trap door and die.
It's so funny. I'm like, hey, throw that switch over there so I can go through. You dead. Or the other thing that like fucking like is so like makes me giggle to no end is, so Shawn hasn't 100% figured out the way a warlock jumps yet. And so I'll jump up on top of something and I'm like, okay, just get up here. And so I'll turn and watch him like slowly glide up and then miscalculate and then just fucking sink like a stone into a bottomless pit and die.
Just going, no.
It's, well, the thing is like usually you're not talking when you do it. So I just see,
damn it.
You just slowly collapse like a fucking, like a hollow cake. You just, and then I laugh and then I feel bad. I feel bad for laughing, but I can't because it's like the visual in front of me just too much.
Then I'm like, I'll try it again. And then the same thing happens. I love it.
Like, so yes, everybody should jump in our Discord. Anybody that's listening that does play the game wants to jump in, like I'll run you wherever. We've had the game 2 weeks. I'm just shy of the pinnacle cap, so I'm good for whatever. I'm game. I'm game for anything. Shawn's gonna finish the campaign, then he's gonna start on that grind, and he's gonna be there before you know it. So I'll run you through whatever. Shawn will do whatever. So everybody should jump in and play. If you don't have the game, just get it. Because guess what? It doesn't matter. Hey, I own an Xbox. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's cross-play.
It's a blast.
So we can all get together.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got it. It's like I said, it's my new kind of passion or addiction. I love it. I think that's what I'm going to do when I get off here. And we'll probably play till like 1 a.m. And my mom and dad are going to get here and I'm going to be sleeping. And I'll be like, we came to see you. I'm like, sorry.
I'm tired.
Like, is Shawn drinking again? Like, no, it's worst. What? Video games.
Wait.
But, all right, well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping so we can get out there and start shooting some stuff. Visit our website, we're LanguageofBromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LanguageofBro. Email us at bros@LanguageofBromance.com. And we'd like to thank our 2 favorite guardians of all time, Wendy and Aaron.
We hope may the traveler's light shine on both of you.
Yeah. They give us silver every month, and I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
All right. Well, yeah, again, if you want to join our Discord, like shoot us an email or shoot us a message on Twitter, and we'll get you that link. But other than that, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. Well, that's all the Bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Be a why not.
An eyes up guardian. There it is. I had to think of it.
I was waiting for you to say it because I figured I was going to screw it up. I was going to be like, ears up, guardians.
Oh, God.
Like, we're still playing tonight, right? Nope.
I got